Hello and welcome back once again to the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast. This is episode 81. John and Wendy talk to Jenni Stone. I'm your host, John.
And I'm Wendy. How's it going, John?
Doing really well, Wendy. I want to say once again, as we're in the month of September, this show is being brought to you by our friends at Balance Track. We really appreciate the partnership there. Excited to continue that conversation. They'll be taking part in the chat later in the month. And Balance Track, again, thanks for being on board.
So we got some fun stuff coming up the week after this episode comes out. We're going to be hanging out in Grand Forks.
Grand Forks, North Dakota. So in the last 2 years, I can now say I've been to both the Dakotas to speak, which is crazy because if you told me 2 or 3 years ago I'd be speaking at anywhere, much less in the Dakotas, I would have said, okay. So yes, really excited to be part of North Dakota SHRM19.
Yes.
John Friend, who's a great pal, invited us to come out. I know, Wendy, I'm speaking on Tuesday, and I believe you're speaking Tuesday
I'm also
as well?
speaking Tuesday morning. Yep.
Okay, so you're Tuesday morning. I think I'm Tuesday afternoon. If you're going to be at the event, come see us. Go make sure you see Tiffany Keel and Aaron Stevens and John Baldino and, wow, who else? We've got Kate Bischoff. Anybody I'm missing?
Those are the ones that are coming to my mind, but, check out their hashtag, WFHR19. We'll all be sharing. All of those folks that John just named, we are all obviously active on Twitter and we'll be sharing what we're hearing. And even though we're not on the quote social media team for North Dakota, we'll still share. We're friendly that way.
We are, and as I think I've talked about on the show, Wendy, I am excited because this will be the first time I ever get to see you speak at an event, much less, a disrupt or anything else. I get to actually hear you, and I think you said you'll probably get more Twitter activity in that hour that you're speaking than you've ever had. I commit to deliver what I can, but I am excited because it's a first, and I'm obviously very excited to see everybody else as well. And Grand Forks, I can't wait. I'm jazzed.
It should be a lot of fun. I know last time I talked to John Friend when I was up in North Dakota, he said he was very much looking forward to showing off his hometown. So fully expect to have a lot of fun and learn a lot about Grand Forks while we're there. So we're on our way.
Well, there'll be more to come, I'm sure, about North Dakota SHRM. I'm really excited about tonight, though, because our guest is someone that we first met in Vegas in person. We had a conversation of all things about her Pokemon mouse pad when we first met. And then she was kind enough to take part in our 5K team in HR Florida, and we got to spend more time with her there. I know the two of you got to take plenty of pictures and commiserate, for lack of a better word, on the trail together. I'm going to stop talking now. I'm going to let you make the introduction. We'll get started.
Yes, Jenny and I had a great time complaining about the heat and how far we were walking, but we did it. We finished it. We finished the 5K. It made it a lot more fun to walk with somebody, that's for sure. Jenny has more than 20 years of experience, and she's been immersed in the human resources industry as a recruiter, a generalist, HRIS specialist, and an advisor. She's currently the HR director and partner at HR Shield, a company that provides HR solutions to small and mid-sized businesses nationwide. She holds a master's degree in HR management and is dual certified professional in human resources and a certified professional with SHRM. Jenny is dual certified as an instructor and proctor of the National Restaurant Association's Serve Safe Food Safety Training Program. She is also active in a number of professional organizations, including HR Florida State Council, where she currently serves as webmaster, Greenville SHRM, where she serves as communications director. Jenny continues to share her wealth of knowledge of HR as a frequent speaker at HR meetings and conferences across the country. Jenny, welcome to the show tonight. And our first question is, what's in your glass?
Well, thank you very much. And in my glass, to some recent life changes, I'm having a little bit of coffee a little late in the evening, some cinnamon dolce latte.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It's the Starbucks version.
Jenny, you're a braver soul than I. I don't think I could be doing the caffeine this time of night. Now, I certainly know what you're up to now, and we talked about it in your bio, but how exactly did you get your start in human resources?
Well, that's a very interesting story that I think very few people have. So initially I was a recruiter. So I worked for a staffing agency for a few years and then was recruiting for Alltel. And I decided when I had started school that I wanted to get into HR. And surprisingly, I found an ad in the newspaper that tells you how long ago that was. And I interviewed for an HR manager position at a company that did chat lines. So I was very surprised to be hired without any HR experience, and only came to discover upon my first day that the company not only did chat lines, but was also a phone sex operation. So it was a very, yes, it was a very interesting at that point. I was like, okay, here I am. I have no experience, but obviously they didn't tell me about it because for fear I wouldn't accept the role, but I ended up spending 4 years there, and it was a very valuable experience to say the least. So that's how my HR career started.
That's the first. Have not ever heard that before.
I think, Jenny, you win. You win.
Yeah, you win.
You win.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience, I got to say. But I learned a ton there. It was kind of like a trial by fire. I mean, imagine that type of work environment that was. But it really gave me my start and my passion during my tenure there. I also got certified, so it kind of started me on that path. But yeah, definitely an unusual start, to say the least.
I think we should just be done. I don't know if we can improve on the conversation after that. It's all downhill from here, folks.
I know. There you go.
Well, but your focus now is with HR Shield is consulting with small businesses. So what do you see as the biggest issue your clients are facing these days?
Well, I think we'd probably start with the fact that generally these small organizations, usually less than 50 employees, the person who's doing the HR is not an HR certified or HR person. Generally, it's the owner's wife or the accountant or somebody along those lines. So I would probably say the first challenges they have is just knowledge in general, just having the basics to know whether or not you can fire somebody and, how to handle someone who tells you they're pregnant, things along those lines. That's part of the reason why my company created our Alexa Skills app. That way our clients could ask direct questions of just some of the most basic HR issues. So I would probably say that's where I'd start, is there. But then the more immediate is the DOL proposed overtime changes, of course, are in the forefront of many of their minds on how they're going to deal with that and how it might affect their bottom line, so to speak.
And that is back in the news, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think what we find is a lot of our clients have misclassified their employees. They have people who should be hourly as salaried and vice versa. And now they're having to take a closer look at that and realize that they may have been inadvertently paying people incorrectly. And there's a lot that goes into that process. So I would say, which kind of goes back to that knowledge thing, right? If you don't know what to do, and that's what we're trying to provide them and empower them so they can, concentrate on growing their business, by having some of this knowledge that will help them not make mistakes that could be detrimental to their organization.
Jenny, can you talk just a little bit about this Alexa app? I find this fascinating. So, we're in this tech world that we're in. Certainly with what we do in podcasting, Alexa's become a hot topic in the last year or so. Talk a little bit more about that platform and how you're utilizing it.
Essentially, it started based on those basic questions. We found that a lot of the transactional work that we were getting through HR Shield was those simple questions. So we thought, gosh, wouldn't it be great if there was a place where you could ask those things? And so that's why we started this. And it's just real simple. You enable HR Shield. And once it's enabled, you can ask it questions as simple as, what's FMLA, or can I hold someone's paycheck? Currently, because it just started this year, we have about a database of about 250 questions so far. And what we do is every time someone asks Alexa a question that we don't know the answer to, that's not in the database, it then shows it as an error. And then our team goes back in and adds the answer. So within 24 hours, the person who asked the questions can ask it again and get that answer. I mean, obviously there's a lot of, situations that are not so easy. It's not one or two sentences that Alexa or Google could give you. But it's really an opportunity to just kind of get some of those basics out of the way. Sometimes it's as simple as, what is SUDA? What is FUDA? How, those different types of things that a new business owner might not know. And it does a flash briefing. Yeah, it does a flash briefing every day, which is cool too, where it's kind of linked to other topics I do on my YouTube channel or on my podcast. And so there's a flash briefing that'll kind of give you a tip of the day or, something that, can have you go somewhere else for more information or whatever the case may be. But I just think it comes down to that empowerment of that small business owner or that new HR professional.
I'm so glad to know that you're out there doing that. We've talked so much about the fact that while we are practitioners, it's not necessarily, those are the kind of things that we don't necessarily talk about on our show. So I'm so glad that you're doing that so that I can tell people, go talk to Jenni and get that Alexa app, get those things, because that's really, really cool.
Yeah, go ahead and get it enabled and ask it things it doesn't know. I mean, that's the only way we're really going to, build that database. And we've been getting some really good feedback on it so far. And I think that we all wish we had somebody sometimes just bounce something off, even as, you heard my whole master's degree, dual certified, all that good stuff. There are times when I'm like, gosh, I'm not sure if I'm going in the right direction with this. I wish I had somebody I could ask. So that's kind of the route we're going. Hopefully eventually to have chat bots and add that kind of stuff to it at some point. But at least this initially is a good start.
Very cool.
Let's talk a little bit about your speaking. You mentioned in your bio that you are quite active out there. And I had a chance to see you in action at HR Florida. You presented Undercover HR, which I thought was incredibly entertaining from the standpoint that as going in as a practitioner, as an HR pro, looking for a part-time job and seeing maybe the not so good stuff that sometimes people do inadvertently or, on purpose or not. But, can you talk a little bit about some of the highlights or even the lowlights in that search and what was that response been since you presented on that topic?
Well, it definitely, I had to take a direction with it because for the most part, when, HR professionals come into a topic like that, they probably already are armed pretty well with the importance of orientation and onboarding and the importance of the right interview questions and all of those things. That's common knowledge generally for an HR professional, recruiter, talent acquisition. So what I wanted to focus on was more of the people that work for you. So like you had made a comment about, I showed a little clip of Back to the Future. It's not you, it's your kids. And, that's what I was really seeing is that the first person that I was in contact with for these part-time opportunities was generally someone with a little bit of HR background. So initially it was fine. But then once I got in to interview or to, come in to other individuals that worked within that organization, it was pretty shocking stuff. I shared, just as an example, that I interviewed for a position as a server in a very well-known steakhouse near where I live. And the gentleman in the interview had actually expressed concern as to my physical size, whether or not I would be able to go up and down the stairs. That was such a shocking experience for me because he didn't know I was HR. I don't know if he would have changed his topic or his question had he known that, but it just brought to my attention that there's just really some need for training and guidance and development with the individuals who are truly your employer brand. And those are your hiring managers and your supervisors and the people that your new hires are exposed to. And what are they saying? And what are they doing? What kind of experience are they getting? Are you talking about how great it is to work for your company? And then the supervisor you put them with talks about how terrible the company is and how he hates working there. You don't know if those things are going on. So that was kind of the goal I wanted to do with that particular presentation is to get you to think beyond those first couple people who speak to your candidates.
It was so fun to hang out with you in Florida. And I'm still not quite sure how we missed meeting in Vegas, but I know you got to hang out with John there. But that was your first experience as a member of the Blog Squad. What was that like for you? Were there any big surprises, something that just kind of took you off guard?
The first thing is that the SHRM conference is just overwhelming, right? That's the only second time I've gone in my career. So, that is where it started like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is, that I'm here. This is so great. You wish you could duplicate yourself, right? So you could be everywhere because there's so many great speakers and events and things that are going on. But I think the biggest surprise for me was just the warm welcome. I've found since connecting with so many of you, both there and online, gosh, I have like a Twitter family and I never thought that would happen. I was never fully in, I was more like a Facebook kind of girl. And here I am on this, in Twitter and meeting these people in real life and just finding myself, very, into this. I have a whole new group of brilliant, supportive, unique friends. And I thought that was the biggest surprise for me as I just really didn't expect that. You always go into those as a stranger. And I left feeling like I had this, whole new set of friends. So it's fantastic.
Awesome. The family that we get, our Twitter family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Any speakers jump out at you from National?
Oh gosh, there were so many. It was awesome. And the funny thing is there were so many I tried to get to, but it would take me 15 minutes to get there. So, I would say, kind of put me on the spot there. I'm trying to remember. I've slept since then, Wendy.
I know.
I really enjoyed Lisa Murfield. I went to hers because I know her from HR Tampa. I actually served with her and on the board of directors. And she spoke about what happens in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas. And she did, her whole presentation was regarding the shooting at that concert and talking about some of the lingering feelings that people have after being involved in a traumatic situation, whether it's at the workplace or otherwise, and how to deal with those individuals and to help those individuals after such a horrific event. And understanding what they might be feeling, after it's passed. And it was a very powerful, great presentation. So I really enjoyed that.
Very cool.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. This episode of the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast is brought to you by Balance Track, the talent acquisition system of choice for federal contractors and companies in the manufacturing, transportation, and franchise industries. Balance Track has helped companies across the nation hire smarter and hire better. Balance Track is built and backed by Berkshire Associates, a company where HR people and technology people work together to build easy-to-use HR solutions. Balance Track is the latest innovation, better pricing, better implementation, and better results for your recruiting. Right now, listeners can schedule a personal demo of Balance Track at balancetrack.com/social. Again, go to balancetrack.com/social to schedule your demonstration today. Thanks again to Balance Track for sponsoring the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast. Now back to the show.
And we are back just in time for everyone's favorite part of our show, the Half Hour Question Connection. So Jenni, who was your first professional mentor, and what was the most important thing you learned from them?
My first professional mentor would probably be Dr. Patty Sullivan. We actually met 12 years ago. We were both selected to serve on the board of directors of HR Tampa as co-certification directors. She was just this brilliant, kind, supportive, one of the best listeners. And she also really got to talking to me about self-health and wellness. And, she's one of those people that kind of helps you find your way and you didn't even know you were lost. She's also always the individual that I would reach out to, like if I was at a crossroads or I needed advice, or maybe I knew the answer and knew what I needed to do and wasn't ready to take that step. She's that person I could always talk to about that. And she really taught me to, to love yourself and take care of yourself as well, because, this job, it can take a lot out of you. And it really, she really helped me down that path. So I would say she'd probably be my first really powerful mentor that I had.
Jenni, I know you talked about building this Twitter family over the last bit of time. Who's one person you've gained in your network in the last year that you think more people should know?
Well, it was funny. My first impulse is to say Steve Brown because he's Steve Brown, right? But I would actually say Tracie Sponenberg, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing her name right. She is just wonderful. Not only did she really welcome me with open arms to the Blog Squad, but she's just a really interesting person. She has a lot of great insight, and I've recently been following her and Michelle Strasburger's HR Rebooted. And I really like, what they've been talking about in their topics. And so I would probably say she's definitely a person to know.
So if you could go back to the start of your career, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself based on what you know now?
It's okay to make mistakes. I think we spend so much of our time just being scared to do something wrong or I spent so much time doing that, especially being new in the field back then. And I think we have to remember it's how we grow and learn, and that, there shouldn't be so much fear about being wrong, making a mistake, because some of the best things happen when things don't turn out the way that you plan them to, or when you've made an error or mistake. So I think if I could go back, I would say that have a little bit more confidence and understand that those are learning opportunities and not mistakes, right?
Jenni, how do you enjoy giving back to the HR community?
I have helium hands. My husband says I raise my hand for everything. I'm a SHRM. I know. He's so funny. He's like, oh, I give you 6 months when we move, you'll be on the board of directors. And he was right. So I do SHRM advocacy captain in my area. I'm also a SHRM certification instructor. As you read earlier, I'm a communications director for Greenville SHRM, but I've also been selected as their conference director for the next 2 years. And I also kind of like helping in a kind way with some of the chapters that I grew up with, is how I say. But I am still webmaster for HR Florida. And I recently started helping a local chapter, SHRM Jacksonville, with their website as well, because it's really rare to find an HR person who also has that webmaster/technology side. So I've really enjoyed giving back in that way. So I'm trying to stop raise my hand, but I don't know if that'll work.
See, I always got voluntold, but I like helium hands a lot. I think I'm going to start using that. I'm going to steal that. I like that.
Well, especially if you have a group and you're trying to find somebody to do something. You remember the old sales saying, like, the first person to speak loses?
Right.
I think that a lot of times that's happened.
Sure.
Where you're sitting in a room and they're like, can somebody help with this? And there's cricket. So I'm like, here's my helium hand going up in the air. I can help. So.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Jenni, what's your favorite movie?
I love A Knight's Tale. I've seen that movie so many times with Heath Ledger. I don't know what it is. If it's because we're mixing medieval knights with rock and roll music, I have no idea. I just love that darn movie.
How about your favorite musician or band?
Winery Dogs, heavier kind of rock band, but got Billy Sheehan on bass, who's one of my favorite bass players. And it's just check them out. They're fantastic.
How about a favorite TV show?
Well, it's funny when I'm like, which one would I choose? Because I love watching cooking shows and all that stuff. But lately I've been really watching Mindhunters, which I don't know if it'd be considered TV because it's on Netflix. But I've really been enjoying it. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's basically the story of how the whole FBI serial killer / psychology part started. And it just kind of follows these two FBI agents. And it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool show.
I've heard a lot of people talking about that. I find it interesting that people don't consider like Netflix and Amazon quote TV, because you're not the first person to bring that up. And I'm like, I watch it on my TV, so I consider it TV, but maybe it's a different? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess because it's a streaming service, but you're right. You're watching it on TV. So I guess that makes it a TV show. I stand corrected.
It just struck me as like other people have said that. I'm like, I would count that as TV show, like any serial show, I guess, rather than a TV show, but any serial that you would watch.
Okay, Jenni, so here's where we bond.
Okay.
My 16-year-old's favorite active drummer is Mike Portnoy. I'm extremely familiar with Winery Dogs.
Oh, yes.
I was supposed to take him to see them play Richmond, and I was at HRE defined in New York City. And I couldn't go, and I was not real happy about it. We had a great time in New York. It was awesome, but I was so disappointed because they had, on that last tour, they hit Richmond, and we were going to go, and anyway, it didn't work out. But I'm extremely familiar. Yes, they are tremendous.
Yeah, I've seen them 3 times. I actually have a video of the second time we saw them was like just within a month of each other, and I have a video of Billy Sheehan pointing at me because he recognized me because I was always in the front row. And I was like, oh my God, he saw me. So they're just bigger than life. They're fantastic. So, I hope you guys get a chance. They haven't been touring recently, but I hope you guys get a chance to see them.
Well, it seems like Portnoy's in about 20 different bands. So maybe I don't see him with Winery Dogs. I'm sure we will see him at some point sooner than later, because always on the road with somebody. When you're not watching A Knight's Tale or listening to Winery Dogs or watching Mindhunters, what else do you like to do outside of work?
Well, my husband and I have, since we moved here to Greenville 2 years ago, we now live in the mountains. And so we've been doing a lot more hiking, which we found that we really love. And recently today, God help me, I started running. So I did that. I'm also a foodie. I love going to new restaurants and trying new food. So, anytime we get an opportunity to do that fits within the budget, we definitely enjoy that. And I love live music. I mean, I was in a band for 10 years. So whenever there's an opportunity to go see a band play, I love to do that.
Jenni, finally, if you weren't in the HR profession, what do you think you'd be doing?
Well, I can't choose rock star and I can't choose chef. So can I be a singing chef?
There we go.
It would be a singing chef. There you go. I just, I always thought myself that, ever since I was a kid that I was going to be a rock star. And obviously that didn't happen, but I'm a pretty good home chef. And at one point I was a caterer when I lived in Florida. So I think if I could make food and have people enjoy it and have that as my full-time job, I would take it in a second for sure.
Awesome.
Jenni, I'm glad you're not a singing chef, although that would be extremely entertaining. I don't think I've ever seen that combination. I'm glad you're not, because if you were, we probably wouldn't have the opportunity to talk to you tonight. I do want to say one other thing that I so much respect about you, and that is that you took a picture with Martha Stewart in line at SHRM19 when we were told not to. And so I didn't get in that line because if I figured I couldn't get a picture, I wasn't going to do it. I go do something else. But big ups to you for sticking it to the man and taking a selfie with Martha in the back. I know that was epic.
Was it rules? What rules? I don't remember hearing that rule. I was just passing by, the interesting thing is
myself.
Yeah, exactly. She just happened to be in the background. She looked right up at me. But, the thing is, I took that job very seriously. When I was accepted as to be one of the bloggers this year, I was like, hey, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do the job. I'm going to get out there and take as many photos and interact with as many people. And, as Steve Brown says, HR on purpose, right? Go out there and meet people and really make the most of the wonderful gift I was given to be there. So, I took it seriously, and Martha was part of that equation.
I love it.
Well, again, props to you. I love it. And I'm so glad we've had a chance to get to know you over the last many months and continue to get to know you even better. You have the most unique first HR job that I think I can safely say on the show so far in a year and a half of doing it. I'm sure based on this conversation, there are some folks that aren't following you now that are going to want to. What's the best way for them to reach you out there on social media?
Well, Twitter seems to be my favorite place to be now, and that's at HR Rockstar1. As far as LinkedIn is concerned, I'm actually the only Jenni Stone with an I. So Jenni Stone. I'm the only one, believe it or not. And I'm also on Instagram at JennaRocks7. So I would love for y'all to follow me. And of course, if you have Alexa, please enable HR Shield. I'd love to have her get some questions wrong.
We will add all that to the show notes for sure. And Wendy, how about you? What's the best way for the listeners to find you?
The best way to find me is as always, on my blog, mydailyjourney.com. Daily is D as in dog, AILEY. And of course, the fourth Sunday of each month, you will find me on Twitter as part of our monthly Twitter chat. And be sure to join us in September, where we will be joined by Balance Track. How about you, John?
HRSocialHourPodcast.podbean.com. Go to the top left-hand side of the screen, click on the three little lines there. It'll drop open and you'll see all my social media accounts and how to reach me. And while you're there, if there's an episode you haven't heard, maybe one of our HR Florida episodes or a SHRM19 episode that we've been talking about tonight, you can certainly download them, listen, rate, review, and share. Again, anything you can do to help us boost our signal. Again, want to thank Balance Track for joining us for the month of September. And certainly, as Wendy said, looking forward to that chat at the end of the month.
Yep.
So again, Jenni, really appreciate your time tonight. And so for the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast, I'm John.
And I'm Wendy. And as always, be sure to connect,
give back, and network.
Take
care, everybody.
We'll see you soon.